It's finally that time of the year again, and it's finally Star Wars month. May the 4th just happened recently, and I got to miss out on it with Star Wars stuff, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on with the Star Wars community right now. Star Wars and video games just go hand in hand. It's a great source material for good content with video gaming. There's been numerous games in the franchise that have been coming out since the 80s, and still come out today, even with more recent entries like Jedi Survivor and even Star Wars Outlaws. The 5th generation had tons of Star Wars games. I definitely favor the N64 of what they got. They got some good stuff like Shadows of the Empire and Rogue Squadron, and of course the almighty Episode 1 Racer. But the PlayStation 1 definitely had its own catalog of games. There's not too many, there's only about 6 Star Wars games, but I'm here today to talk about each game on the console and go over each game to see if it's worth your time to check out or not. Sit back, relax, let's go over the Star Wars games on the original PlayStation. Kicking off this list, we have Star Wars Dark Forces, and this is one that a lot of people know about. This is actually a Doom clone pretty much, and it's pretty much just like it, but it has Star Wars coded all over it. The gameplay is pretty solid though. They do a very good representation of what a first-person shooter can be in Star Wars setting. You kill tons of stormtroopers going through Imperial facilities, as well as droids, and just figuring out where to go, and it actually is a lot going for it for a game from the mid-90s. Originally, this was the PC and PS1 game here, but you can actually play this on new hardware. That's the way I'd go to play this game because the frame rate's all the way bumped up and just looks better visually. More games spawned after this, the Jedi Knight games, and definitely play this one first and then jump into those because then you get a lightsaber and such. Star Wars Dark Forces is definitely a good game from this generation that you should check out sometime. Star Wars Demolition is a vehicular combat game, and it was made by the same guys who made the Vigilante 8 games, and those were on PS1 and N64, and you'll definitely be right at home with games like Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8, because it pretty much plays exactly like those games. They have all kinds of different vehicles you can get in. You can get into an AT-ST, you can get into like a speeder, you can get into literally a lot of primary vehicles by characters and such, and overall, this game really is kind of more of a novelty in my opinion, but it plays perfectly fine for what it is. Just know that you're not getting a crazy amount of stuff here. It's just like Twisted Metal, but it's still fun, and you can play as Star Wars characters in Twisted Metal style, so I definitely think it's worth a look, especially to kill about 30 minutes to an hour with some friends. In case you're unaware, this game is also on the Sega Dreamcast too, so if you're a Sega Dreamcast fan, this is definitely one you should check out for that console. Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. This is a game that I remember seeing all the time at the rental store as a kid, but I just never rented it. There were other options that I wanted before this one. The game is loosely tied with Episode 1, but you play as different characters, and essentially it's just an action hack and slash kind of game, beat 'em up style, and you go around killing a bunch of battle droids, moving on to the next area, hitting a bunch of buttons, and literally it's just the same formula as a game like Fighting Force or something like that. It's honestly not that bad. I'd say this game though, definitely play it with a friend. This is probably 10 times more fun when you have a friend involved, because being by yourself, it gets kind of boring because you do just kind of kill battle droids and stuff over and over again. The footage you're seeing is the remastered version of this game. You can play it on any console, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, or PS5, doesn't matter. But if you want to play on the original hardware, there's always that option as well. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the game based on the movie, and I loved this movie as a kid. I know a lot of people hate on this movie because of Jar Jar Binks and all that stuff, but I love this movie. This was a big part of my childhood. The game, I actually did rent this as a kid, and I don't really care for it. It's not terrible, but I don't know. There's just something off about the gameplay here. I hate your overhead view. I know there's a lot of top-down games for this generation, but they just did a kind of crap job here. I don't really like the way your viewpoint is, and the controls, and they're just kind of average in general. You could definitely do a lot worse than this game, but this is definitely one of the weaker Star Wars games on the system. This game is made by the same guys who made The Simpsons Wrestling, and I've covered that game on this channel, and that game is not that great, but I wouldn't call it that bad, so if you're curious, check it out, but I don't think it's worth checking, honestly. Star Wars Masters of Teras. I'm sure everyone's been itching to hear about this one on this list. It's a fighting game on the scope of games like Tekken. It's all this is a Tekken clone, and it plays kind of weird. So it wasn't horrible when I played this, especially as a kid. I don't have like a whole lot of memories, but playing it today, it definitely has some slow movement going on whenever you hit some button commands. Also, the characters are highly unbalanced. Luke Skywalker here has a lightsaber, and he feels impossible to take down. And then if you have a blaster, you can shoot from a distance, so I don't know. I don't think LucasArts thought very well on balancing everything about this game, but it's not really as bad as what people say it is, but it's definitely not that great, to be honest with you. You also gotta like the names they gave the Gamorrean here, Thok, and then it's Tusken Raider named Hor. How do you name a character Hor? I just don't get that. Obviously, there's a lot of better fighting games that you can play on this system that's not this game. But if you're itching for a PS1 fighting game that you've never played before and you love Star Wars, I mean, just give it a try and see, but do not expect a whole lot here.
You win.
You're braver than I thought.
Star Wars Rebel Assault 2 was released in '95 for MS-DOS, but released on PlayStation 1 in 1996. It was developed by LucasArts, but Factor 5 had a hand on the console version, and pretty much it's just a rail shooter all the way. There's a lot of cutscenes in this too, you could definitely tell it's shown its age, but nonetheless, this is still a pretty good novelty Star Wars game here to play. It's kind of similar to the first game, which the first game was on the Sega CD in '93. I would definitely call that, and up to this point, like the motion video era, where everyone had to have FMVs in their games. But this game in general, it's not too bad. It's simple, you just move and shoot on these sections, but it's well done for what it is, and it's kind of entertaining just to see a little Star Wars story here. I had trouble running this on my PS3, so I had to go by other means to play this game, so if you know the reason for that, which I'm thinking it's something to do with the videos or something like that in the game, I don't know. Leave a comment down below if you know anything about that. Not too bad of a game. It's a good sit back and chill, have some action, watch some FMV videos kind of game. Check this out if you're a Star Wars fan. And there you have it. That's every single Star Wars game on the original PlayStation. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I think the N64 definitely had the better Star Wars games. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's hard to beat games like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer or Shadows of the Empire. Those games are pretty fun and definitely fun to go back to play. If I had to recommend Star Wars games from this list, I'd say go with Dark Forces or even Rebel Assault 2. Demolition's not too bad, as well as Jedi Power Battles, but I'd avoid Teras. That game's not all that great, and I definitely would avoid Episode 1. That game is just not fun. Thankfully, all these games are pretty affordable, so you can definitely get them for like 30 bucks or less depending on where you live, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of these games physically, or you can play them on modern systems for most of them. That's all I've got to say about these games. I hope y'all have a happy, belated May the 4th be with you, and have a great rest of your day. Y'all take it easy.